Welcome, everybody, to our first cohort meeting of 2025. It's hard to believe we're already in the middle of January. I hope you all had a restful break and a nice holiday with your family and friends. We have a fun-filled agenda today. First, we have Tara Williams, who will be presenting to us about information from the Office of Child and Family Services. Then we will do a check-in on our data collection with Kim, Paul, and Paula Gravel. And then Barb McGowan is going to talk to us about an update on the Grants4ME system that we've been talking about. So I would like to first introduce Tara Williams. She will be presenting today. Tara is the Associate Director of Early Care and Education at the Office of Child and Family Services in the Maine Department of Health and Human Services. Tara, that's a long title. Most recently, she was an Associate Director at the Bipartisan Policy Center's Early Childhood Initiative. Prior to that, she served as the Executive Director of the Maine Association for the Education of Young Children. Earlier in her career, Tara was a research and policy analyst at the National Council on Teacher Quality, where she analyzed education policies from all 50 states. She also worked for many years in elementary school and childcare classrooms, teaching and caring for infants, toddlers, preschoolers, and kindergarten through third grade students. Welcome, Tara. She is going to share with us different programs that are offered through the Office of Child and Family Services that also support children in this age group.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on today, Sandy and team. I'm really looking forward to having this time with you to just have you get to know me a little bit and our office and some of the programs and services that we have that I hope are helpful for you to know about. I tried to make sure that I shared in the slides that I think should be up. I should check first. You can see them. I shared my screen. Good. Okay. And I'll kind of mention it as I go through the slides. I picked pieces of information out that I thought would be most applicable for school districts, school building leaders to know about in terms of they are available to you also, in addition to other early care and education and childcare programs in the state that we work with, as well as programs that may be more focused on birth to 5 and childcare, but could be helpful to know about in terms of the FAPE transition and work you may do in your community and getting to know childcare providers and preschools and Head Starts and others. So I'll start first by just doing a quick kind of overview of what is the group of programs and services that we oversee in our office. And so primarily this is childcare facilities or childcare centers or family childcare programs. And we have a data dashboard on our website that shows, it looks like this, and it's updated every month to show how many licensed programs are in each county. It also breaks them out by number of across the whole state childcare facilities versus family childcare, and also their corresponding star rating on our quality rating and improvement system. I know that you've probably been able to get even more detailed data through your work in this cohort, but just wanted you to know that's something that is always on our website if it's ever something that you want to look at, or if you're ever looking for more data, you always have the folks at the Department of Ed to reach out to who can connect with me and connect with our office. I'm always happy to pull licensing data by county, by town type of program to help school districts to know who is in their catchment areas. We also, along with the Department of Ed, work closely with Head Start programs across the state. Not only are they included in the larger group of licensed childcare programs that we have, but we have state contracts with them where we provide state funding to support their services. And historically, our state contracts have focused more on supporting their ability to enroll and serve infants and toddlers, but we also have included funding increase the flexibility of how the funds can be used over time. So they're also used for preschoolers within Head Starts. So that's just something to know about in terms of who's in your community and who the Office of Child and Family Services is thinking about and serving in a lot of our work. I think one of the most important programs we want people to know about in Maine in our office is the Child Care Affordability Program. You may or may not be aware, and I just wanted to make sure that you had, whether through other presentations in this cohort or through mine, heard about it, have links to it, and know that it exists. Not only because the 4-year-olds that you may be serving and the 3-year-olds through the FAPE transition may be eligible for this, but also in serving K-12 students, you may be serving students who have younger siblings where their families could qualify for this program. And so I think it's always good for our SAUs to know that this is one of the programs that we have in Maine. It is a program that requires that in order to pay for child care, that parents are either working or going to school or in some type of job training program. And one of the reasons I wanted to highlight it in particular when we're thinking about resources for school districts and families with school-age children to know about is, and this is very small, but you'll be able to get a copy of this and I'll point you to a couple of things here. This has 2 data charts. One is to just show you the number of overall children that are in the Child Care Affordability Program by month over the past year, going up through September of 2024, and that's where we're at 4,101 children. In the bottom chart, it's showing our Child Care Affordability Program by age group, and I think this is an area where sometimes there's a misconception for those who've heard about it, where you may assume it's more about infants and toddlers or even preschoolers. But these are all the months of the last federal fiscal year. And the bottom row is school age. And even though it's small, I can just point out to you, it's ranging between 38% to 46% of the kids in the program are school age, meaning they're kindergarten through 5th graders who are utilizing, their families are utilizing these funds to pay for their after school or before school care. And then the next largest group is preschool age children who are accessing it to pay. They may be paying for all of their preschool childcare during the day if they're not in a public pre-K through this program. They may be leveraging it to pay for part of the day if they're accessing a part day pre-K or Head Start program and able to have this to help pay for the other half. So it's definitely a good resource to have in mind in terms of what may help your families. Another important program that we have is the Help Me Grow Maine program. And I think this one, again, I want to highlight in terms of knowing that they are doing a wonderful amount of work for families with young children, and definitely getting a lot of calls in and providing information through this free resource for families of infants and toddlers and preschoolers. They're tasked to serve families in Maine from prenatal through 8 years old. And if a family calls with a 9, 10, 11-year-old, they will still, of course, take the call and provide resources. So this really is a free information line that has family resource specialists available to help connect families to different types of resources and referrals. And one thing that's unique about this program that will be a little bit different than what a family may have experienced before is that the way that this works is it not only includes a first call to say, tell me about, where you may be finding challenges or struggling, but the family resource specialist follows up. I believe it's a month later and then 3 months later to check in and see if the resources they provided helped, if the family was able to access the services that they were looking for, and if not, to work through, if they would like more assistance to help them through another plan. So it's a little bit more hands-on than sometimes what they may be used to. We're not always able to provide that through our state services, but we're really excited that Help Me Grow Maine can provide that. And when you get these slides, there's a link at the bottom that takes you right to the website. And there's some great There's postcards there with QR codes that can be downloaded. They're in 8 or 9 different languages that could be shared. For example, if you have a school newsletter that's going out, there's a kind of PDF flyer type sheet that also talks about what Help Me Grow Maine is and how to access it. So a great resource for your communities and families to have on hand. Some of this, again, will be probably too small on this screen, but I'm going to highlight a couple of things I'll point your eyes to. This is some Help Me Grow data from this past year. And I think just helpful to know what we're seeing across the state of Maine in terms of our youngest children and their families who are calling in. The chart that's kind of near the top left, that's all orange-ish, reddish bars, is saying, what are the top concerns that families are sharing when they're calling in Maine, calling Help Me Grow Maine? The top one is basic needs. And so this could be anything from, struggling with their financial security and housing or transportation, and they've called, to see what they could get linked to. Or sometimes it's really specific basic needs around being a parent of a young child. So they get a lot of requests for how to get access to diapers, strollers, car seats, and food, things that they really need at a time of just having a new child, or maybe they've had a few children and now a third or fourth, and it's their family household income. The second most common reason that a family calls is for more information around child development and understanding developmental milestones. And the staff at Help Me Grow are trained, they can provide developmental screenings. They also are working hard through outreach and support to hold events at childcare programs and schools where they can come on site and provide developmental screenings. And always happy to work with other partners and providers, whether it's through Department of Ed or other places, in trying to make sure that all our young children in Maine have at some point in their first few years a developmental screening. But one of the things, without a family may not want the screening when they call Help Me Grow Maine, and that's fine, but they can give them just developmental information. And we have found that to be a pretty high request when calls come in. And then there's different requests related to behavior, mental health, of social emotional development of children, access to childcare. One other thing I'll point out here is that in the kind of top right area with the yellow colors, there's all different resources, websites, and information that Help Me Grow Maine sends families to or links them to. Probably the most common of the past year is child development services and helping families get connected to early intervention services. And then after that is Childcare Choices, the website that families can use to find childcare, as well as to the Childcare Affordability Program. I put in some information here about our workforce salary supplement system. This is a system of grants that goes out to licensed childcare programs in the state. And while it is not a program or a funding stream that is available to school districts, I included it because I think it's helpful to know that it's part of the system that we're all working in, and an effort that the state has been making to try to support the workforce of teachers and staff that work in childcare programs and really support their ability to have compensation that is more aligned with their skills and experience and competencies. So if you are connecting with or reaching out to childcare programs in your community or doing any types of relationship building through the FAPE transition, something you may already be hearing about or start hearing about is some of the workforce challenges that they've had. And this is one of the resources available to them. Most programs know about it, but if you happen to be working through any of your time in connecting with childcare programs, with anyone who hasn't heard about it or is not part of it yet, it's I think important to know about. I also included it because it highlights here, we structure these stipends or these supplements that we give based on levels that staff have in the workforce registry in Maine. And this workforce registry is specifically around early childhood educators. And those who primarily work in childcare and Head Start, but may also work in public pre-K or other early childhood settings. And this is a graphic you may have already seen before, but if not, I wanted to make sure you had a copy of it on hand. I think it's a lot to look at, but it's helpful to be able to understand the way we look at our experience, skills, and degrees of our early educators in childcare. And so if you're working with a program that talks about, sometimes childcare programs will put on their website, well, all of our staff are level 5 or above, or we have most of our staff between levels 2 and 4, but we have lead teachers that are 5 or 6. That's language we're all very familiar with in the childcare world, but is not so familiar on the school district side. And so just to make sure we're sharing language and we know what each other means when we say that, this is basically what it means. So if you hear that somebody is a level 5, if I go to that kind of row here and trace it across, it means that either they have at the least, a credential, which means they've achieved a 1-year credential in teaching preschool or infant and toddlers, depending on their age group, and have 6 years of experience, at least, working in classrooms with young children. Or they have an associate's degree in early childhood education and 2 years of experience, or they have a bachelor's in early childhood education, or they may have a bachelor's in something else that includes credits in early childhood education plus 5 years of experience. So I basically just took that level 5 row and read it across. And that's the way to read this, because for each of these levels, there's not one descriptor. It's you have this box or this box or this one. It's kind of a flexible system that we have to try to honor the many different pathways that people have to come into teaching and working in early care and education programs in our state. And we're probably not even going to look at this for very long. This is all the data on our salary supplement program for the last year. I'll just draw your attention to the bottom row where it says total staff. I think one of the things that I like to look at and shows positive results of our salary supplement program is that we have been dealing with workforce shortages, as I know many school districts have, within the birth to 5 space for a while. And the total staff participating in this program has been reflective, and we've heard from childcare programs that it is helping to reduce their workforce shortages or increase their workforce retention and recruitment. And we go from December of 2023 having 6,900 or so in the program and getting the supplements, which is most of the workforce in Maine, up through 7,696. We continue to see each month, it fluctuates a bit, but mostly this trajectory of more staff coming into the field and more staying when they're able to get this compensation support. I think you already had a presentation from Maine Roads to Quality, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but I just wanted to highlight that we contract with them as a professional development network, and their trainings and credentials are available. If you're working with a childcare program in your community and thinking about different ways to partner and wondering, from what I'm learning from them, it seems like some of their staff have training, but I don't hear about them having credentials or degrees. What is available to them? This is what's available. I mean, many things are available in terms of their trainings outside of Maine Roads, but this specifically is available in our state at low or no cost. Over 100 facilitated trainings every year. There's a lot. I mean, they just this past year did 20 different deliveries of the same course over and over because it was requested so many times. The preschool Maine early learning development standards. So that's also good to know about for public school staff who are working with preschool age children, that we have this training that really focuses in on what are the learning standards that we have for preschool age children, just like, we want our K to 12 to know their Maine learning results as part of their practice. The other thing that we have available in Maine is we have a scholarship program and we have an apprentice. Well, there's several apprenticeship programs. There's one specifically through Maine Roads to Quality. These again are more pathways for those working in childcare, but I think something for you to have just in your back pocket to know that it exists if you're working or partnering at all with childcare programs where they could be pointed to a resource, or part of an agreement in how you work together could be they need to get a certain number of their staff up to a bachelor's degree. And so they could access this scholarship or apprenticeship program to do that as part of an agreement that they have with a school district. So just wanting you to have these resources in your awareness. And now I'm getting to some that are a little bit more available across settings and programs, school districts through childcare and Head Start. When you may have connected before with Maine Roads to Quality, they have peer-to-peer networks, communities of practice and professional learning communities, as well as on-site and virtual consultation that they do. This has mostly been with childcare programs, but they have been able to, in working in partnership with different referrals and requests that have come in, to be able to support when there's a specific need relating to early childhood education that may be through a public pre-K as well. And then I think one of the ones that has been just an incredible resource for the state of Maine over the last couple of years, it went from a pilot to only in a few counties to statewide, is the Maine Early Childhood Consultation Partnership. They have served so many children and families this year. And one of the reasons I want to really spread the word about them is that they are tasked with serving children from infants up through elementary school, but most of their outreach in their first couple years of growing has been working in childcare and Head Start, but they are available to you in your school district and in your public schools. This is an infant and early childhood mental health consultation program, meaning you want to think about them when you're looking for consultation for your teachers in classrooms who have children that may be struggling with their social emotional development, have challenging behaviors. It might be something where you're looking as a staff and saying, okay, this isn't necessarily something that's going to go to an IEP or special education, but this is still a challenge and we need some support here. And these are there are 14 consultants around the state. They're in all different regions. They have clinical backgrounds, so they're trained as clinical mental health specialists, as well as in early childhood education and child development. And so I definitely encourage you to check out the program page. Reach out to me anytime if you want more information about this program. I put in here for your information just some data that you'd have on hand. I think one of the things that really speaks to the excellence and what the service can provide is that oftentimes childcare, preschool classrooms, Head Starts, and elementary schools too, you may have a specific group of children that year, one child, or even one classroom. Maybe there's a newer teacher or a teacher who's changed ages or grade levels where they're really struggling with some challenging behaviors in their classroom. And sometimes it gets to a point where it's at the point of struggling to be able to serve that child in a good way. But that child may not qualify for other services. And one of the things we're looking at, and it's at the bottom of this slide, is child retention rates, meaning was that child able to be served well in the classroom that they're in the school or program that they're in, without having to look to move them to a new classroom or get a different service, or a childcare program that said, we're not able to serve you, and they were asked to leave. And the children who have had support from ECCP we've been able to build the capacity of the programs and classrooms that they're in to serve them well. And so brings a smile to my face. And then lastly, I put some information about a collaborative project that's been happening. It's a pilot in 4 sites around the state. And this is for your reference. You may have heard about others from the Department of Ed early learning team. There's the First 10 and community schools. And this is another example of partnership work and places where we are putting in funding and resources and programming to try to build access to quality early learning and care, and also connections between childcare programs and school districts, and help people really build those trusting relationships and ways to partner and collaborate in their communities. And in case you haven't heard of this pilot program before or seen any information, I put in here for your knowledge that where the 4 sites are this year, in case you happen to be a school district nearby or who has heard about this and are interested in learning more. I think it's really been wonderful to hear from any of the school districts and childcare programs that are in the catchment areas of the First 10 program and the Grants4ME and how much they're learning about each other and connecting through these projects. Okay, that's it. I'll stop sharing.
Does anybody have any questions for Tara? Tara, is your contact information on that slide deck?
Yes, I put it on the first slide, so anyone can email me anytime.
Okay, so that a copy of that slide deck will be sent out with the minutes from today's meeting. So thank you very much, Tara, for coming today and sharing that information.
You're welcome.
Greatly appreciated. Okay, do we have Kim and Paula? I see Paula.
Kim isn't
Here
able to
to-
be here today.
Okay, I guess it's just Paula then.
It's
Welcome.
just Paula. Hello, everybody. We're all doing well. Just a reminder that we are collecting the January 1st, 2025 counts for the pre-K special education program that you're all a part of, so that we can be preparing the adjusted, if they need adjustment, payments, which will be going out hopefully next week for the third quarter. We are still reviewing some of them to ensure we have everything correct. And so just a reminder, in the third quarter, if your counts have gone down, we will not be reducing your funding. Your funding will not go any lower than what we calculated it after the last count in October. However, it will go up if your counts have increased. Also, a little reminder that the way the counts work, we are collecting information on children that are enrolled in your SAU, in your school administrative unit for this program. For those that are pre-K students with special ed and have an IEP, they will get the full calculation of the allocation of funding. For those that are in the child find process, they have not been evaluated yet, so they do not have an IEP yet, but you do have a signed consent for evaluation. They will get the $1,000 per child funding for child find. So again, in order to get the funding for child find, you have to have a signed consent to evaluate, which we ask that you send a copy of that consent to Jennifer Hopkins, along with the counts. If that child has not been evaluated, does not have an IEP by the January 1st date, they will count for child find, but they won't count yet for the full funding. However, if they do have an IEP in place by the next count on April 1st, you will then be allocated funding at the full level. They will move from child find into the regular counts. Just want to clear that up if there's any other questions about that. I'm going to pause right there. If anybody has questions about the counts that we're collecting right now and the payments that we're getting ready to send out hopefully next week. I'm trying to learn the pause. Megan has been a great mentor in the pause area. All right, long enough pause. Jennifer, can you remind me if there was anything else that I was going to bring up, because I apologize. I didn't write down what I was going to speak about.
No, I think you covered it all.
All right. So again, hopefully we can get those payments, those third quarter payments out to you sometime next week. reviewing all of the data that we're collecting. And while I'm here, any other questions about funding? I love answering funding questions. I keep the fun in funding. You guys may not realize that, but it's true. Thank you. Lou, that was a great smile.
And Paula, I know that you and your team have sent out reminders. You and Jen have sent out reminders if the child count wasn't in after the holidays. So
Yes.
have you received them all? Do we need
We've
more?
received all but one, but the last one that we are looking for, we expect to get that this week. We have been in contact. I
Perfect.
did just recall when you said that there was one other thing, speaking of reminders. But were you done before I? Okay. So quarterly financials. I just want to remind you all, don't hate me. I'm just the messenger. As part of the process that we have asked you to commit to in this cohort 1, we do ask that you submit quarterly financials. So each quarter, we're asking for your actual expenditures, actual financial data to be uploaded into MEFS, into the financial system. You may have heard from Maria Lidback. She is our person on our team who is looking into all of the expenditures that are uploaded into MEFS and the budgets to verify and to validate. And so she may be saying, hey, you uploaded your quarterly financials, but it's not showing any expenditures or any revenue in 2213. Well, if you're part of cohort 1, you should absolutely have expenditures and revenue in 2213. If you don't, there's something wrong. We should talk. So this is just a reminder. I don't know how many business managers we have on this call, but if they're not on this call, could you please tell them to reach out if, if there's a question about the coding and the funds? We do absolutely need every quarter, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, for this. We really do need the quarterlies, especially if you expect to have costs that are over and above what we're funding. We can't do anything without that information. And then, of course, Barb McGowan is also going to be asking for additional documentation for some of that if necessary. Just a reminder about the importance of the quarterlies.
Great. Thank you, Paula. That was a great segue to our next guest today, who is Barb McGowan.
Thank you, Paula. Good afternoon, everybody. Paula just took a lot of my thunder, so my speech is going to be a lot shorter because I'm here to talk about your quarterly uploads and your financial obligation or your obligation to send us financial information so that we can take a look at your expenditures with an eye towards high cost in district or out of district costs that may go above and beyond what you're receiving in your quarterly disbursements. In order to do that, we need a detailed trial balance from each and every one of you each and every quarter, so that we can determine what we need to see from you as far as backup documentation, which will be dependent on the types of expenditures. For instance, high cost out of district, we'll want to see those tuition invoices. High cost in district, you could have a purchase of a really expensive piece of medical equipment. That's a one-time expenditure. We'll ask for some documentation on things like that. But for a start, what we need to see every quarter is a detailed trial balance. And I just put in the chat exactly what you need to say to your business managers. It's a very, very easy ask for them. And what they need to do is they need to send that information to either Jennifer Hopkins, and CC me would be great at this point. And there's our contact information. A big part of what I needed to talk with you about is not only getting those detailed trial balances from you, which we have not received many for quarter 1, and you're due for quarter 2. So please, as soon as you get off the call, sometime today, zip this little bit of information off to your business manager and ask them to provide a detailed trial balance to us. And you can give them the emails to send them to. What we do is we triangulate that with your fourth quarter upload. And what I will say, I have looked at your fourth quarter uploads, and I can say there are 5 uploads missing. So I'm not going to point any fingers, but five of the cohort 1 haven't done their first quarter upload. And 4 of the uploads did not include any expenses to fund 2213, which means you didn't spend 1 penny on your pre-K program. So you're going to need your business manager to go back in there and make sure that they are allocating those costs to fund 2213. My team will be reaching out to you for any kind of backup documentation that we need. We will be informing Paula whether or not there needs to be an increase to your funding on a quarterly basis. Eventually, Grants for Maine will open. That's going to act as a repository for all of this documentation. But for quarter 1 and quarter 2, and probably 3 and 4, through the whole first year, my team is going to put all that in for you. And the reason for that is the system is newly built, and my team will do all the struggling with that system before we pass it on to you. We'll get it so that it's very easy and user-friendly for you before we ask you to use it. So all you need to do is provide me with a detailed trial balance for Fund 2213. And if anything further needs to happen, we'll be reaching out to you and your business manager for backup documentation. And we also need them to complete the uploads, the quarterly uploads into the, I call it NEO, you call it MEDMS, MEFs, whatever you want to call it. And from there, someone will be reaching back out to you if we're not seeing any 2213 expenditures or we're seeing anomalies in the upload. So we're going to kind of make sure that the pre-K expenditures stay in alignment. We're not missing anything. You're not getting paid for anything. And Paula will know when she needs to break out her piggy bank because she needs to send you more money. So long story short, you may be hearing from my team this week or next, your business manager, if you want to give them a heads up. If we haven't received the trial balance, we're going to be reaching out. We will be reaching out to those districts, the 4 districts that didn't post to 2213, just to let them know. It's possible they used a different fund code for pre-K. They shouldn't be doing that, but it's possible. So we'll check on that, and then we'll be reaching out to just a reminder to those that hadn't uploaded anything into the system yet for the first quarter. So any questions on any of that? You don't have to worry about Grants for Maine for now. We're going to put everything in there for you.
Barb, there is a question in the chat. When it is in Grants for Me, will we be asked to upload the copies of the invoices and timesheets just as we do for grants?
Possibly. So what you would do is just put your detailed trial balance in there. We're going to do a review, and then like we do in IDA, if we want further documentation, we'll reach back out. We'll kick it back to you and say, please upload XYZ. Your business manager will put those invoices in and they'll send it back to us for review. And then that will sit in the repository for us to look at, because we're trying to understand the funding for pre-K. We're trying to make sure that we are covering 100% of those costs. We always, of course, the fiscal person in me always says, our first mandate is always passing the reasonable and necessary test. So it's not a free-for-all, but we are trying to understand that funding. So moving into cohort 2, 3, 4, and forever, we're making sure that we have the funding necessary for the program. And if you have any fiscal questions, this is the time because Paula's smiling. She's in a great mood. I'm here. I think Ida's here somewhere. Aaron's here. Megan's here. Any questions at all?
I have a Paula statement, if I can.
Uh-oh. Oh no. Do we need to censor this, Lou, or?
You know where I'm coming from. Paula is the absolute school finance guru in the state of Maine. She currently has a cannot retire and cannot leave the organization clause in her contract. Over the weekend, Paula, the governor is considering a cannot go home for the weekend clause as well. So
Ooh.
that's how much we love you.
I don't
She's-
know. Is that love if I can't retire or take weekends?
That's
I appreciate.
deep love. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I
Qualifies
do
as tough
appreciate.
love.
It sounds a
You've
little
got me out
tough,
of more
but
trouble.
I got you out of trouble?
Yes, many times.
Oh, wow.
Questions I couldn't answer and only you could. So thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
well, I'm sure it was my team. We're all together on this, so
You're all great.
that would help though, because Pam's planning to retire. Maybe I can tell her about the new clause.
Megan will look into it for you, right?
Thank you,
All
Lou.
right.
That's very kind.
Thank you,
Sandy,
Paul.
it sounds like we're all done with the fiscal section.
Okay. Anything else today, Aaron or Megan, before we give people back a few more minutes in their day? I see no.
I
I
don't
want to
think
thank
I
you.
have anything, but thank you all for coming on this lovely January day.
Thank you, and we will see you in 2 weeks.